talked about the relationship dynamic that we shared and how that enabled us to kind of move from having like the dual income or more single income, and really kind of creating space for, me to kind of be the 9 to 5, my wife to really pursue maintain the home, supporting a family, and really driving our business pursuits as well as like nonprofit pursuits.
I want to talk about that transition from just like a woman's perspective. And for me, one of the things that I was telling a girlfriend who is also transitioning to that dynamic with her boyfriend is this idea of your identity shifting. Like when you're so used to making your own money, like working for yourself and not depending on a man and, like strong, independent girl, yada, 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 it is a big shift, especially if you make your job or your career a big part of your identity, because some women are very like, they have their own business or they started a business with somebody, or they're like a super high up senior role in a corporate America. And they're like, this is my identity. Like, this is a big part of who I am. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, but I do think there comes a point, an extent where that becomes a bit too excessive. And I always say anything too much is not good. So if you're too hyper fixated on, having that as part of your identity, when you do make that transition, or God forbid you lose the job, or, something happens in life, and you're in this transition, it can be very catastrophic because you all of a sudden don't know who you are without that job, without that role. And that's essentially what happened to me. And that was, I'll have to say, that was the hardest. It wasn't even the financial adjustments that we had to make as a couple. It was mostly the mental and emotional aspect of it, because I was so used to being independent. I was so used to like having that as my identity, that when I didn't have that anymore, I just didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to be there for myself. I didn't know how to be there for my family. I didn't know how to be there for you, because it was a different version of me. And I really struggled. I really struggled with insecurities. Like even like when I was freelancing, I was making some money, but like nowhere compared to what I was making before. It definitely took a toll on a relationship. And that is something that you have to caution yourself. You never want to get to a point where like that decision to jump from dual income to single is like extreme. Like it can work, but if you don't have enough buffer time to prepare yourself mentally and like have a plan, right? Like, okay, so this is the game plan. Like God can work miracles, and he definitely did it with our relationship, but it was hard. It was hard. You just don't feel like you're enough, especially if you're so used to money, like making your own money. If you don't make it anymore, like, and you're doing other things that's very different from making money, like it can really mess with your head. And you also feel guilt. It's something that I wrestled with, is I always felt bad. Like I was, bringing a bunch of things to the table. Bad. I felt bad, like that you were like holding so much, carrying so much financially. And like, I know it was a thing where like you never wanted to put pressure on me to like get the job, or, hurry it up, like figure it out, because I'm only doing this for a certain amount of time. Like, and I'm so grateful for you. But I felt horrible. And I think that got internalized, and like that really messed with me more than the pressure that he was putting. Like he never put that on me, but I put that on myself. And then, third piece I'll mention is, this is a big thing. Being a stay-at-home girlfriend is very different from being a stay-at-home wife and mom, because in society, marriage legitimizes the stay-at-home role a little bit more. And I do think it stems from like fear, honestly. The people who are first to like be like, are you dumb? Like, why would you depend on a man? Like, you should always have your own money, like your money and his money, and joint money. Like, why would you ever do it? What if he cheats? What if he leaves? I told my friend that usually it's women who are single or like divorced or like and like in my case, I know like my mom was a stay-at-home mom and she was not very happy in their marriage, but to be fair, it was a very different time. And then they also had their very different set of issues that wasn't so much around like money. It was like other deep things. So it wasn't really about the money or their dynamic. But all that to say, I honestly like told her like, look, I know what it is. And because dealing with judgment from outside, especially family and friends, can mess with your psyche. And if you internalize it, it makes it even worse. But a big thing that helped me was honestly, like, as corny as it sounds, it's my faith. I don't worry about you ever cheating. Like, I worry about you dying because I don't want to do life without you. Like, if the money is an issue, fine, we'll make adjustments. But like, you ain't leaving me. Like, you're my best friend. And like, but that is a real fear. Like, what if he just drops dead? Like, you know, goes on a plane and like, God forbid, like I'm widowed. There's always a what if factor, and that will completely change the financial dynamic, obviously. But you know, at the end of the day, like I told my friend, honestly, like we can't get stuck in the what ifs. We can't get stuck in the fear mentality. I'll be honest, like even if that fear is real, I just told her straight up, look, if that happens, like God will make a way for me to get out of it. Like God will give me the right tools. He'll give me the right support to get through it. He'll introduce me to the right job. He'll give me the right set of skills to, you know, get back into the workforce. Like I trust that God's going to give me exactly what it is that I need in that season if that happens. And I don't want to get caught up with that. I want to focus here. And I want to focus on the present and cultivating what we do have right now and not get caught up in like, what if he cheats? What if this happens? What if, you know, he like, you know, can't work anymore? You know, like what if, we'll deal with it when we get there.
In the first video, I shared a little bit about the risk of like financially that I kind of stepped into as part of, you know, us kind of taking that step together, you know, because it's an investment, right? You're making an investment into this relationship of what it could be. And I think that's a really good thing to think about is yes, there is a risk. I think people want this story of like, oh yeah, everything's worked out and there's nothing to worry about. But like, just like you said around like you relying on me, depending on me financially, it's a risk, right?
Yeah, for both of us.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I kind of shared a bit about the financial risk, and I think a lot of guys can you know, understand that to say like, some guys don't even want to pay for dates, right? So they're like, man, forget you leaving your job. Like, I don't even want to buy you a smoothie, right? Or, you know, take you out to get a nice little meal, right? So, you know, I would love to get from your perspective, like that risk, like, or submitting to like this idea. Like, I would love to get your thoughts.
And you bring up a really good point about risk from my perspective. Yes, it was a risk. It's always a risk. Anything in life is a risk. But it was a risk that I was willing to take because there was never a point in our relationship where I doubted you. Like you just always had a good head on your shoulders. And what I mean by that is every aspect of your life, the way you live your life, the way you treat people, the way you steward your money, the way you show up for your job. Like I always see you taking it seriously. You're never just like, oh, I'll just skip the meeting. Like it's okay. Like you took it very seriously. Like when you were paying for stuff, like you were very generous with the tip. Like you had a very generous heart. And you could be a little too generous and be irresponsible, but you always would always share and you would always be open and transparent. And that's not easy to do with money. But you were from the get-go, you were very transparent. And because, you know, when we set out to date, we wanted to date to marry. And when we marry, we knew everything was going to merge. And financially, just for us at least, we never wanted to start a marriage off of secrets. There's no question. And, you know, if there's a big expense or something left field, we talk about it. I'd rather talk about it. And, you know, if we have to have a heated conversation about it, let's talk about it than me being secretive and like, okay, I have my money. He's not going to question me what I spend my money on, you know, I saw that pan out with my parents, you know? So all that to say, like, the way you shared, you know, you're very honest about like your student loan debt. You're very honest about even just like what you make at work. You were very honest about, you know, debt, what you're doing with investment plans, like your long-term goals, financially. So every time you share those things, like it made me respect you even more because you felt comfortable sharing that plan with me. It's sexy when a man is ambitious, and ambitious is all about energy and decision making. Is every part of your life. Like it just made me want to trust you and your decision making. And even like when we go on dates, it was never like a half-hearted decision. You would actually spend time sitting and like being very intentional with like looking into restaurants, and like because of every part of you was so intentional, I knew that financially I could trust everything that you would steward. So it made the transition much easier. It made me like worry less about the risk of like what happens if this falls out and like, so yeah.
Like, I didn't know where you were going to take it, but like, it's so funny because when you look at what I said around me feeling good about investing in a relationship and you feeling good around the investment you made in the relationship, it really came down to the conviction we had about each other. And I think that's a big part of like the success of your relationship. I'm, big into the finance stuff and like investing. And it's like, if you don't have conviction in what you're investing in, then as soon as you see like the red in your portfolio, you're going to sell, right?
Or if somebody says something about the relationship or what
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to do financially,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, you know what? Oh, yeah, they're right. They might be right. Ooh, you get cold feet, you know?
And that's exactly the same. It parallels exactly to a relationship, right?
Absolutely.
Is if you don't have that conviction in your partner, their character. I know something that we always used to say in the beginning of a relationship, we're talking about like just kind of knowing each other's heart. Right? Because there's a lot of things that are uncommunicated because you don't know how to say those things just yet.
You're still getting to know each other.
Yeah, like you don't know how to say certain things. You don't know how to meet that person where they are, but you have to kind of know, your partner's heart and say like, hey, they might mess up here or they might not be perfect here, but like I know that genuinely from their heart, they mean well. They want to be there. They want to be supportive. And there's going to be moments like that where you both have to kind of keep your conviction and stay strong despite the ups and downs.
Absolutely,
and like that's when it turns into something beautiful. And there's no shortcuts for that, right? So I don't want to sit here and sell anyone who's watching this a dream and say, oh yeah, just take that leap of faith and it's all going to be good.
No.
Really, honestly, you need to make sure you're praying about it. You need to know who you're in this relationship with. And if they're showing you certain signs that make you concerned, make you worried, it's like you don't want to just go blindly into things, right? Like you need to address those things and your partner should want to confront those things, talk about it, right? Not run away from it.
Yeah.
Because that's going to help you feel more confident and more bold in what you all are doing. And then when outside voices come in and they start saying this, that, and the other, you guys can stand firm and say, hey, this is what we've selected to do or chosen to do. And we feel good about it, right? We've prayed about it. We seek God together. And this is what we're standing on. And I think when you have that level of conviction, that boldness, it's like people see it and they're kind of like, it's inspirational to them, right? And that's all we can hope that we can do with our relationship is we're not perfect by any means, but the reason why we can confidently get on camera and share stuff with you all is because we believe this stuff that we're talking about. Like we lived it. And everyone's life is going to look a little different, but this may encourage you to kind of be bold and kind of really seek God in your relationship, or if you're single, helping you to have that conviction to say, hey, I'm not going to settle. And I want someone who I can truly trust. And we can make these big swings and take on these big risks because that's ultimately where you get the big payoff. If there's no risk, there's no reward, right?
I think this is what women mean when they say like, oh, you're just not masculine enough to put her in her feminine or like draw her femininity out, I just see it time and time again with all my girlfriends. Like it's just a pattern that I see. It's extremely hard for you to want to trust somebody or want to like tap into that feminine energy and just, be a homemaker and be a mom and like be a wife and like, I'll take care of the dishes and like, I'll make sourdough from scratch if you're not doing the bare minimum of showing up for yourself. In the relationship. So I say all that because, to go back to your original point is at the end of the day, it's all about like, do you trust your partner? Where is their heart coming from? Are there things that make you feel like you could, no matter what season you guys enter, can you trust this person to weather it with you? And can you also trust that this person's not going to get resentful when you guys make that transition from dual income to single income? Is it going to be this like scorekeeping thing or like where, they're doing it because, they want you to be grateful and like it's a more controlling thing and like, so to be fair, like you never put that on me. You always just wanted me to like lock in and find that thing that I can be extremely good at. And it took some time to get there. Thing that I can be extremely good at. And it took some time to get there. Going back to what I was originally talking about, I was telling my friend the best thing that you could do with external noise and people, commenting like, why would you do that? That's dumb. Like you're going to depend on a man. Like, and you, I hate to say it, but usually it's from bitter single women. Like, and this is just my lived experience. I always heard it from bitter divorced or single women, or even like women who are in relationships that are not happy, and don't have that dynamic, and like honesty and trust in their relationship. If there's one thing that I'll say, like, don't take advice from bitter people. It's different if somebody like shares, perspective and, shares, okay, if you're gonna become a stay-at-home wife or stay-at-home mom, or, you know, these are things that you need to be mindful of. That's different. That's actual good advice. That's good perspective. That's good counsel. That's when you know that person loves you and that person actually just wants you to be prepared and not have to be in a situation where you wish you could have known these things. That's very different. That I 100% support. But the people that are like, you know, so quick to judging and so quick to like, really? Like, you know, and without even asking questions, that's, to me, that's a bitter spirit. I don't like taking advice from bitter spirits. I don't like seeking counsel from bitter, resentful spirits, because it tells me that you haven't dealt with that and you're projecting that on me. Just because you went through that does not mean that's going to be my future. And it could be, don't get me wrong, it's a possibility. But I'm just saying, don't put that on me and don't rain on my parade, you know, because if this is making us happy, this is like what's working for us, this is creating peace in our relationship, this is creating a better division of responsibilities where we're not questioning, okay, did you do the dishes? Did you, you know, clock in? Like, did you do that? Did you pay that? Like, there's not a question. We know what we're, you know, responsible for, and we just help each other. It's a bit of a dance. So all that to say, the best thing you can do to drown out that noise is understand that conviction. Understand within yourself, what am I bringing to the table? What am I doing for my partner? Because you know, even if you're a homemaker, even if you're a stay-at-home wife or stay-at-home mom, you know, or, you know, you're a stay-at-home girlfriend or trying to transition, you know how much you're going to be doing, even if you're not working, because all you got is time. Like, you ain't got nothing but time. So, you know, you can use that time to, you know, pour into your partner, pour into the house, pour into your passion project or business venture, right? So you, as long as you know in your heart what you're doing is meaningful and it's investing in something meaningful, that conviction is gonna be stronger than someone saying, oh, like, really? Like, what if he does this? What this happens? Or, you know, so that conviction, you have to feed that conviction and continue feeding that conviction. It's funny because the first thing that people ask is like, oh, what do you do for work? And like, I generally did not know how to answer that. In the beginning, it was this weird, awkward thing where like, I know where we're headed. I know what we're trying to build here. I know what I'm trying to do with my time, but it's hard to translate that to somebody who just does not have the full context. And so, you know, my best advice, I told my friend, the best thing you can do is just play it cool, laugh it off. There's no amount of explanation. You don't even owe them any kind of explanation. You know in your heart, you and your partner both know why you guys decide to transition into this dynamic. You guys know the values that, you know, you guys are focused on. And all you can say is just joke around and say, I'm retired, or like, you know.
I like the COO, you know, chief operating officer. Like, you got to hold it down.
There's a lot.
You orchestrating.
There's a lot that you can do, and there's a lot that you're doing. And like, shout out to all the stay-at-home moms. Like, you guys do so much. Like, there's so much that you guys do on top of being there for the family. So don't minimize that. Don't, you know, just because you're not being paid to do it does not negate the validity of your work. I'd say, like, as long as you own it and, you know, double down on it and like be extremely good at it and create like a system, a routine, a flow, like, you'll find that thing. I just think that's going to feed your confidence and your conviction, and you're going to reach a point, and I'm so much better at it now. Like, I will proudly talk about our dynamic openly to our friends and family. And in the beginning, I wrestled with like, oh, is this normal? Like, you know, it's going to be scrutinized. What will they think? And then fast forward to now, literally every one of my girlfriends are burnt out. Their cortisol levels are through the roof. They're like, I'm so tired. I'm ready to quit. I just want to make sourdough. Like, they're tired. And I think it's a big common like experience with millennials. But all that to say, I hope you guys stay encouraged. But yeah, till next time.
Till the next one.